Today, we're digging into a site so old, so mysterious, it might just flip the script on the very first chapter of human history. You know, for years, we all thought Göbekli Tepe was it. Ground zero for civilization. The first time humans built something truly monumental. But what if that incredible discovery was just one piece of a puzzle that's much, much bigger and even older? Well, meet Karahan Tepe. It's this sprawling, sun-baked landscape in Turkey, and until just recently, its secrets were buried right under the surface. What archaeologists are finding here is pretty much changing everything we thought we knew about our distant ancestors. All right, so to really get why Karahan Tepe is such a big deal, we need to go back in time. And I mean way, way back. We're talking about a time before writing, before anyone had even made a clay pot, and even before the idea of farming had taken root. Archaeologists call this the pre-pottery Neolithic period. And what that means is that Karahan Tepe was built roughly 12,000 years ago. Just think about that for a second. This isn't just ancient history. It's like we're standing at the very edge of the map of human history. And what's just mind-boggling is the sheer gap in time. You've got this incredible place built 12,000 years ago, and then, poof, it's lost for millennia until some researchers basically stumble upon it in 1997. And it's really only now that we're starting to understand what they left behind. But here's where the story gets even crazier. It turns out Karahan Tepe wasn't some lone outpost. Nope, it was part of something much, much bigger, a whole sacred landscape filled with monuments. So most of us have heard of Göbekli Tepe right here on the map, but look at this. Karahan Tepe is just 46 kilometers away. They were basically next-door neighbors in this huge, ancient, ceremonial neighborhood. This whole region now has a name that perfectly captures what's going on. Archaeologists call it Taş Tepeler, which is Turkish for stone hills. And boy, is that an accurate name. It seems like everywhere they look, another ancient stone site is popping up out of the ground. And get this, Karahan Tepe is just one of at least a dozen similar sites they're looking at in the Stone Hills region right now. So let that sink in. We're not looking at one temple, we're looking at a vast, interconnected network of ritual centers. So you might be wondering, where does that leave the world-famous Göbekli Tepe? Well, instead of a rivalry, think of it more like a family. Archaeologists are starting to see Karahan Tepe as its slightly older and maybe even more mysterious big sister. They both have those iconic T-shaped pillars that just fascinate everybody. But here's the kicker. The dating so far suggests Karahan Tepe is a few hundred years older. That means long before anyone even thought about building a Göbekli Tepe, people in this region were already gathering to carve stone and build incredible things. Okay, so we know it's ancient, and we know it's part of a huge network. But what makes the site itself so breathtaking? Well, let's take a look at what they've actually discovered. Honestly, the artistry they're pulling out of the ground at Karahan Tepe is just stunning. It's like walking into a prehistoric art gallery that's telling us this very human, very symbolic story across a dozen millennia. Okay, check this out. This is one of the star finds. It's a statue of a man standing almost 2.5 meters tall. And just look at the detail here. You can clearly see the ribs, this V-shaped collar. It seems the human form itself was hugely important, probably tied to powerful ideas about fertility and life. And it wasn't a one-off. These human depictions are everywhere. Here you can see this powerful, intense-looking human head, found exactly where its creators left it. And right next to it, this incredible totem-like statue of a human carrying a leopard on its back. It just screams of a deep spiritual connection with the animal world. And you see that animal connection in so many other carvings. They created these incredibly lifelike sculptures of the animals that mattered to them. Creatures like vultures and what really looks like a snarling bear. Every single one is a masterpiece of Neolithic art. But you know, it wasn't just about individual statues. These people sculpted the earth itself. This is a special chamber they carved directly out of the bedrock, and then lined with pillars. And notice the shape. Again, you get this powerful feeling of ritual and the cycles of life. This really shows you how intertwined art and architecture were for them. They didn't just place art in a building. The building was the art. I mean, look here, you can see a human head just emerging right out of a structural pillar. It's as if the entire site was meant to feel alive. Okay, so after seeing all of this, what does it all mean? Why is this one site in Turkey so revolutionary? Well, it's because it is forcing us to completely rethink the dawn of human civilization. The people who built Karahan Tepe were not the small, nomadic bands of hunter-gatherers we usually picture. No way. To create something on this scale, with this level of artistry and engineering, well, that takes serious social organization. It takes planning. It takes a powerful, shared belief system that could unite hundreds, maybe thousands of people. So this all leads to a pretty staggering conclusion. Karahan Tepe might just be the oldest ceremonial center ever discovered. It confirms these sites weren't isolated projects, but part of a huge network. And maybe the most important takeaway of all, it proves that complex society didn't begin after people settled down to farm. It began before. And that leaves us with one final, massive question. The old story always went first farming, then villages, then complex religion. Karahan Tepe and the Stone Hills suggest the exact opposite might be true. What if the human desire to gather, to build monuments, and to share a spiritual world? What if that was the actual spark that ignited civilization itself?